Okay, today I'm going to be showing you how my 92 Honda Civic turned into a wood splitter using the Stickler wood splitting device. And I'm just going to show you how I did the conversion, because it's not meant for a front wheel drive vehicle. It's supposed to be only used for a rear wheel drive vehicle. But first I'll show you some of the safety features I did. First, this is the emergency switch. It disconnects the battery from the engine, so that way the whole thing will shut down. All I did was disconnect the negative battery terminal there on this high amperage switch and connected it on the back. That was the easiest thing for me to do, rather than trying to cut one of the harnesses open and figure out which one was the fuel pump and all that to get it to stop, or that went to the distributor cap. This way I just cut the electrical to the whole car. I have this block of wood right here because I did have to disconnect the alternator, because it would continue running with the battery disconnected if the alternator was in. Plus I wanted to use the alternator for a different project. So that piece of wood keeps the hood from closing all the way, and as you can see right here, it actually did touch up here and arc. So with the charger, because I have a charger down there that I use to keep the battery charged, so I just put that piece of wood there. This right here is the throttle cable, and you can see all I did was add a bicycle gear changer, one of the old ones, right there, so that way I could have control over the throttle without having to get in and out of the car. Also, I can set it at whatever I want and it'll stay there. Works okay. Wish I had better control over the throttle, but fishing beats wishing, as they say. Oh, anyway, and the other thing before I close the hood, not that this is anywhere near the hood, these are the pieces that I welded on, so that way the wheels wouldn't turn from side to side, because front wheel drive, those are also the steering wheels. And so while you're operating this, if you don't have the wheels locked, they will wander around, which is unsafe, very unsafe. So I welded a piece of rebar right here across the tie rod arm, and then also just a piece of a bed frame here, angle iron, going from I forget what this thing's called, anyway, to one of these supports back there, so it doesn't move now. It hasn't. It's been like this for 2 years, and I've split approximately, I don't know, 25 cords of wood, which I'll show you how it works here in just a second. So evidently I secured it pretty good, because it won't move. The car will actually stall out before anything breaks. So, and then this is part of the emergency switch. So if you turn this to the on position like that, all you have to do is, you got the cord right here, and if something goes wrong or you just want to stop it, you just pull on the cord and it will flip the switch, the whole thing will shut down. So I'm going to start it up. Oh, one of the reasons I decided to use this car was because it's not worth very much. It came from northern New York. I'm in Fairbanks, Alaska now. And they use a lot of salt out there. As you can see around the rear wheel, it's rusted. The body of the car is in pretty bad shape from the rust. But worse yet was that anytime you had to work on anything, you would have to beat the bolts to get them off. If you could get them off, they'd strip, they'd break, because they were just so corroded that it wasn't worth working on anymore, because of just the frustration of trying to get parts off. and then having to deal with that. So I'm going to start it up, and then my son is going to record the rest of the video. Alright, so we started it up. I run it in first gear, and basically it's pretty easy to use. You just, this thing spins, you take your log, pop it on, let it do the work, and that's it. There you go, split log. Now, I cut these pretty long. They're about 34 inches long because I use a wood boiler that I put them in, and so you can get about a little over 36-inch logs in there, and so I cut them just a little bit shorter than that, and that way it saves me a lot of cutting. And this thing works great for splitting those kinds of logs, because try and find a regular wood splitter that's going to split a log this big. Still recording? Okay. Let me show you one of these. This is pine right here. This one's pretty dry. And it's a lot bigger. But it's still a little wet on the inside. And what ends up happening is that you get these, I don't know, little splinter things like that. It makes it a little harder to split wood. This one isn't too bad. This one I actually got off of a river. So the reason it was debarked is the water actually took the bark right off. But once you usually get through that first split, it's pretty easy. Come over here on this side, Jeffrey. Alright, so this one's actually a pretty green log right here. This was cut down this year. It's big kind of towards the bottom of the pile. And same thing, you just put it on like that. Okay, now you'll notice, like right here, you see these right here splitting. Now, you want to make sure it's not so much an issue with the soft wood, but the harder wood. When you put your fingers in here to pull it apart, you want to make sure that one of these isn't going to snap up, because when it hits your finger, depending on the size of it, it'll either crush your finger pretty good, or it'll smack it, and it hurts a lot. So yeah, this one's greener. You can see how it kind of didn't split all the way. Usually what I do when that happens is I just put it right back up here the other way and just split it in quarters. That usually makes it a lot easier. And the thing surges when it idles when it gets warm. I haven't really, the car anyway, I haven't figured out what it is. I really don't care. It doesn't affect the splitter at all. The functionality of it works just fine. So a lot of the way this splits has to do with the grain of the wood too. Now see, here's a good one here, because you just take an axe and we'll cut any that are like that. So, I've heard a lot of comments about how dangerous this seems to be. It's really not dangerous at all. You know, I wouldn't wear a tie by it or any other kind of loose items of clothing. You know, if you do get into trouble, you have an emergency switch right there and it shuts right off. As with any powered equipment, it deserves respect. Stay away from right here while it's going, because that will pretty much suck it right in, because it's pretty sharp on this end. That's how it sucks in the log and splits it. And so, you know, but if you do get into trouble, make sure you got your safety switch right there. That's the most important thing, because it'll shut the car right off, and then you don't have to worry about it. You can fix whatever the problem is. So that's my wood splitter. I go through a lot of wood because my house is very uninsulated. And that's the next project. Yeah, that's the wood shed. I'll go through that in 1 year. So I spend way too much time cutting wood and splitting wood. But this saves me a lot of time. I don't have to split by hand. I didn't have to, it cost I think $150, something like that. It wasn't very expensive at all. And the car was pretty much free because I had got done with it. It needed approximately $800 in parts to make it roadworthy. But as far as the drive, you know, the gearbox, the transmission, and the engine, it's in great shape. It's just, you know, the brakes and the ball joints, they all needed to be replaced, and it just, to get the parts off, just wasn't worth it anymore. It was easier just to buy a car that had been here its whole life, so it wasn't rusted all to heck. And so, that's that.